Assets Management and Lotus India Assets Management. He is a regular contributor to electronic and print media with more than 1,000 TV appearances and 100 articles, which we all know very well. So we warmly welcome Shri Ajay Bagga ji to show uh, to give bit guidance to all of our followers today. Thank you, sir. Shri Ajay Bagga ji, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaganji. Thank you very much, Dharamji, for inviting me to all the CA Aura organizers, past presidents, all the members. This is a very big knowledge group. You make a very big contribution to the society. And I'm very happy to be on this forum today to interact with everybody. And I benefited from the previous two speakers and their depth of knowledge. Thank you very much, Dharamji, once more. What we are facing today in the market is a 100-year, once in 100 years crisis. Once in a century, we have seen this kind of crisis coming in the markets, in the economy. And even in 1929, when we had the Great Depression, even at that time, there was never a thing that puri dunya band ho jaye. For nearly 3 months, most of the world economy shut down. We have never seen that in the world. So it is unprecedented. It started as a medical crisis with a virus coming from China. Everyone thought that SARS ki tarah, it will just be a localized phenomena and it will pass as the summers come in India. We will not see so much. And given that we all take BCG vaccine in our childhood, and BCG was shown to have a good impact on controlling the virus, we all thought that India bach jayega. But that has not been the case. We have suffered economically, we have suffered medically. Now it has reached a point of mental health also. We saw the famous cine actor committing suicide, but a lot of people are taking this extreme step all around the world. Children are feeling a lot of mental stress by being locked up in the house, and economies are in trouble. So today I will talk a bit about condition of the economy. I will talk how the markets are pursuing it, what are the policies happening around the world, and how do we see the way forward going ahead. What exactly happened? A virus started in a city in China. As usual, what China does, they never informed the world. They were looking at their own country, and people kept coming and going from that city, Wuhan, right from November onwards, when the first viruses had come. Doctors who raised that issue were disciplined. A lot of them have disappeared. They are either in prison or they have been executed. So China put a lid on it right till Jan 23rd, when it became a very big epidemic. Unfortunately, World Health Organization also, because of the Chinese influence, they did not act fast enough in telling countries that please take care. As a result of that, people who visited that area were carriers, and before the governments all over the world could take action, there were enough carriers in every country of the world, given it is a world which is so interconnected, and China being the second biggest economy with a lot of people coming and going from China. फिर lunar new year की छुट्टियां भी थी, so a lot of Chinese went all over the world to spend those holidays. People went back to China to spend their holidays, and as a result, a huge transmission happened. India realized that we have to take very strict action. The government moved fast. March 24th, we locked down the economy. Most of the country went into strong lockdown. And that has helped to some extent in postponing the transmission in India. Though now, in the last 1 week, the numbers are really rising because number of tests also that we are doing has increased. But just to give you an idea now, in the last 8 days, we have put on 1 lakh more positive cases. The good news is most of them are asymptomatic. Most of them are not going to face much of a health problem. About 5% people will need hospitalization, and out of that, unfortunately, 3% are uh, losing their lives. And mostly those are aged people. Mostly it is people who had diseases earlier, like diabetes, like cancer, like heart problems pre existing. Those are the people who are facing these issues. Impact on the economy was very sharp, and it happened globally because most of Europe shut down. Then America started doing small lockdowns. Entire supply chains were disrupted. China went into a very strong lockdown across February and half of March. China came out of it fastest. So we have got some idea now. Okay, what happens when you reopen the economy? China has been able to control the numbers, at least as far as the reports go. But globally, GDP is down, economies are down. Global economy now, IMF, World Bank, all are forecasting that the global economy will fall by around 5% this year. That is January 2020 to December 2020. India, where we were expecting to grow at 5 to 6%, we will have negative 5% in this year. That is the RBI number, and the IMF is saying about 4.9% degrowth. So, Pella, first quarter growth fell about 7-8% in Europe, 5% in US. India still grew. Second quarter बहुत problem है. April to June is going to be big problem because we had lockdowns, very severe lockdowns in March and most of April, half of May. Just to give an idea, our petrol consumption fell nearly 60% in April. In May, there has been a recovery. Now we are only 23% down from last year. And hopefully in June, with the relaxation that has happened and industry has restarted, we would have recovered a little more. But as CAs, what we have to see that the economy was working at about 75% capacity utilization even before the crisis. So if someone could manufacture 100 units, in a year they were manufacturing 75 units. Now with this crisis, at least 20% production will go off. We don't see that full recovery for another 2 years, sector by sector. Some sectors like airlines have just started, they are running at 20%. Hotels are not running at all, they are giving free services or very limited services as quarantine centers. So, travel, tourism, restaurants, bars, shopping malls, all these are facing issues. Retail has seen an issue, even though now shops have started. Auto, Maruti did not sell even one car in April. Our truck sales have really stopped because even the lakhs of trucks that we have, only 30% are being used right now. So, for truck firms and truck owners to buy new trucks will take a very long time. Government has been talking about a scrappage policy, but nothing has come for the last few months. We are just living on hope that some scrappage policy, some help for the auto sector comes through. What happened well in this time and what is different from 2008 when we saw financial crisis? 2008 started with a banking crisis in the US. It became a financial crisis worldwide, and governments took action over 6 months, and finally we emerged out of it on a 2 year basis. This time, the central banks acted very fast. Even RBI acted. We must appreciate RBI. They cut rates twice. They didn't wait for MPC meetings, Monetary Policy Committee meetings, but before the meetings, they cut rates, they put in a lot of stimulus, monetary stimulus, they made liquidity easy. Similarly, around the world, the whole world makes about $86 trillion of GDP. So the whole 7 billion people in the world, 700 crore population of the world, makes about $86 trillion of GDP. On that, nearly 12% stimulus has been put so far in the last 3 months. So roughly $10 trillion have been pumped into the global economy. And that explains, a lot of investors keep calling us that why can't the market see that the economy is in such a doldrum and why are the markets rising? It's a very simple equation. Economy and markets are not correlated. So कभी economy बढ़ती है, markets फिर भी गिरते हैं. Sometimes economy is going down and markets are rising. What is the equation is more supply demand. What is the equation is more liquidity. And because central banks have put in so much liquidity around the world, we are seeing the markets going up. A very interesting observation I would like to share with you. If you plot India of today and you see where were the developed nations at $3 trillion roughly today of GDP, US was there in 1980. So in 1980, US was at 3 trillion. We are say 40 years behind the US. Japan was at 3 trillion in 1990. So we are 30 years behind Japan. We were equal to China in output in 1980. China's big reforms started in 1979. Our reforms started in 1991. So normally we used to be 12 years behind China. When we started, both of us were the same. In 1980, both of us were similar economies. But today they have run ahead. They are at 14 trillion, 13 and a half to 14. We are at 3. So there has been missed opportunity. Also, it's a function of being a democracy. We can't move the way they could move by taking very draconian measures, authoritarian measures, and not carrying any public. Also, the pollution levels. And finally, I think China is the biggest Ponzi scheme. Their banks, their balance sheets are not reliable. The loans are not repaid. Local governments have so much loans which are off the balance sheet of the country. So it is the biggest financial bubble in history. Sometime it will go off like the USSR went off in 1991 post all the crisis. You will see China also. The slowdown is the first part. They were growing at 6% for the last few years. This year they have said they will not grow at all. We think there will be a degrowth. And slowly you will see that steam coming out of the Chinese markets. What were the reactions? First reaction, central bank stimulus, governments came with stimulus. Second, commodity prices started going down. We had oil prices going all the way from $60 to $10, $12. Our prices have not gone down in India because government kept raising the taxes, which, in a way is good that where else will they get revenue from? In a way, it is bad that it really burdens the business people and the common people, whoever is a user. All of us are user of diesel because freight in India largely moves in trucks which use diesel. So all of us are paying the cost, and then businesses are paying cost on crude overall. So prices have not gone down, but globally they crashed, and now they've come back to about $40 because of intervention and because they cut output further. We have seen the kind of stimulus US has put. They have never put after World War II. Last time they had put this high a level in World War II. Britain has put after World War II this higher stimulus. Bank of Japan after 1990 First time they are putting so much stimulus. As a result, central bank balance sheets have really exploded. Just to give you an idea, the Fed, US central bank, its balance sheet went from 4 trillion to 7 trillion in a matter of 1 month. So there is a lot of printing of notes going on. And as CAs, you understand, when there is too much money chasing too little goods, inflation always comes in. It has not happened in the case of Japan, which has been printing money now for 30 years since 1990. But we don't know what will be the ultimate impact of running such high 12% kind of fiscal deficits that we are going to run as a world today throughout this year. What will be the impact next year as the economies start normalizing? We don't know. So, what are we expecting? We are expecting 45% degrowth in economies in April to June period. We are expecting a 25% fall in July to September. We are expecting December to come back and be about 5% lower than last year's December. And first quarter of next year, we are hoping that we will reach back 2019 first quarter levels in some industries. Some industries might go permanently. Some sectors will take 2 years. Some sectors will take 4 years to recover. We really don't know how that will play out. I will take you through sector by sector, give you some examples of what we are expecting. What do we look at when we look at a recession in finance? We look at the depth, how deep the recession goes. So this is bigger than any recession in living memory. 1929 was the biggest Great Depression. ये उससे भी बड़ा हो गया because 45% उधर भी नहीं गिरा था. That was maximum it went down was 30%. So this quarter that we have already lived through, it will end in another 3 days. जून 30th को जो 40-45% global output गिरेगा, that has never happened ever. Second is how fast does it carry in the economy, what we call diffusion. तो एक जगह पे slowdown आता है, how does it carry throughout the economy? We are seeing that on the SME sector, we are seeing on retail. Bankruptcies in the US are at the highest ever level after about 1990, and this is just the start. Those will increase further. Third is the duration. So depth wise it is deeper. Diffusion also has been very fast. The good news is duration wise ये लग रहा है कि बहुत sharp it fell and very sharply it is recovering because of the money that has been put in the economies. So लग रहा है कि April has been the bottom of this cycle, and from here we'll slowly start climbing out. Normalization will take 1 to 2 years. It's not that immediately we'll normalize. So reaching those old levels will take time, but we have at least now managed to make a bottom. Now everybody talks के V-shape recovery होगा या W होगा या U होगा. V is very simple. You go down and you come up. W is you go down, you come up a bit, then there is a second wave, you fall again, and finally you recover. That is W. And U is you go down and slowly you keep crawling, and then after a couple of years you take off again. Or you can be like Japan, which is L. It came down and stayed down. Japan sold maximum number of cars in 1994. They never sold that much autos in the last 26 years. After that, they didn't meet that number again. So it went down the economy and it stayed down. It is slowly growing. And so will the world get a Japanification? That's a big risk. We don't know today. But our best hypothesis is that April has formed the bottom. You see electricity, you see petrol, you see all the other leading indicators. They are showing a quick pickup. Normalize will take 1 to 2 years. Normalize नहीं हुआ है, but और गिर नहीं रहा है. Now the risk to this is a second wave of corona. India, we are still in the first wave, but countries like US, which had 40,000 cases yesterday, the risk is will they get a second wave of corona? So we have to watch out for that. So impact I have done. Now let's talk about the implications. First implication is that the world is moving to a G2 instead of G20 or G10. It is US versus China, where all the wars will be fought now. And we cannot stay equidistant because China, unlike Russia, which was friendly to us, Madam Gandhi had signed a pact in 1971 war with Russia. It was friendly to us. China is very hostile to us. So more and more we will have to gravitate towards the US and the allies like Japan, Australia, all the Southeast Asian countries, all which are also victims of China. So it's a G2 world. Second, globalization will go down. See, for India, our manpower exports are very critical. We get about 60, $65 billion every year in remittances from Indians working abroad. That manpower export has to continue because we don't have jobs for the number of youth who are coming of age every year. And to create those jobs, you need huge investments, huge industries to be set up, and jobs like in construction, jobs like in textile, manufacturing, which are labor intensive. Service intensive IT kind of jobs are getting automated and becomes very difficult to keep on adding people. So deglobalization and supply chains will get impacted. As CAs, you will see it in the companies you are auditing. You will see a lot of supply chain issues. Right now, say China inputs are stuck at Indian ports. That will have an impact on the Indian companies. Similarly, our goods, which are dependent on those inputs, those going out will get impacted. So it slows down our whole economy in the short term to take any action on this front. Fiscal deficits are going to rise, so government's ability to spend is going to be challenged. Data is the new oil, as Mr. Mukesh Ambani has said. Data will be very important, and countries will fight for that to retain their data. We are all aware of privacy, of confidentiality, non disclosure agreements. Data will become very critical. It's a new consumer. Consumers were spending on experience economy. People were saying we will not buy hotel packages, we will stay in Airbnb, we will not buy a car, we'll go in Ola and Uber. All those models are crashing around us. So we don't know how that will come until a cure or a vaccine is found. For viruses, normally the vaccines don't work so soon. So despite 70 vaccine initiatives being on, uh, there will be three ways we will get out of it. Either some cure, which again, some things work, some don't work. That's what's happening. Vaccine normally takes 4 to 5 years, and even then it works 70-80% of the time. It doesn't work on 100% of the population. Third thing will be herd immunity. Herd immunity, when 50% of the population is infected, and then you stop transmitting, because the chances whoever you're meeting, if you're positive, has already got it. Now that we don't know, because the virus mutates. It is a mutation. So whether this year's virus will be the same as next year, we have no idea. So in all this, the shared economy, the gig economy, all these models come under a big cloud. The consumers will spend more on ownership. What we have seen after the opening up, people are buying essentials, people are buying durables that broke down. Of course, there is no travel, there is no tourism. Retail is really down. People are buying online on e-commerce rather than go to stores, and auto sales are really gone below the red line. So clearly, all big purchases will be postponed. That will have an impact on the economy. And final big impact that we are seeing is big government. Government will know a lot more about us, like the Arogya Setu app. Similarly, there will be a lot of tracking of people, a lot of government interference in people's lives, and also because the revenues of governments are very constrained, we are expecting that tax cuts and all will be very difficult. You can expect corporates to face higher taxes. So all who are paying taxes will get a higher tax rather than lower tax. For the stock markets, what are the implications? I think biggest implication is that it has not been as bad as we thought. March 23rd was the bottom. From there, global markets are 30 to 40% recovery. Sector by sector, we are seeing recovery. And that is a function of all the money that has come in. I personally think we will see a W kind of a recovery. So, thoda ye recover hoga, and then we will go down again. And markets also will get shaken. So, July middle, once the earnings for this quarter start, some people say markets are efficient, they are already reflecting everything. But, kuch pata nahi hai abhi. That is all I will say. The managements themselves are refusing to give commentary. And what happens, we'll really have to see. I am expecting by September, October, one more big fall in the market, and then we will go up. So, as a long term investor, ke liye it's okay. We will recover. But short term, I would be more conserving cash or waiting for a fall than being very bullish on the market. One very other big event coming up apart from virus is the US presidential election. And whenever US has been in recession in June of that year, the incumbent president loses. Let me explain it. 1976, Gerald Ford was the president. He had taken over from Nixon. He lost to Jimmy Carter. 1980, Jimmy Carter was the president. When he tried to get re-elected, he lost to Ronald Reagan. 1992, George Bush Sr. was the president, and it looked like he will be elected. The economy started going down in June. He lost the election to Bill Clinton. All three were upsets against the grain. Now, US has declared a recession in February already. June will be worse than February. February, if it was down 8%, June will be down 45%. September will be down 25%. Election is 3rd November. So recovery का भी time नहीं है, possibility नहीं है recovery की. So looks like Democrats will win. Joe Biden will be the next president, unless they start a war or something with China, or they bomb Iran. Something he creates as a national issue. So on the economy and on protection of the American interest, Trump leads. On all other factors, he is losing out. So Obama had won with 69 million votes extra. Hillary won the popular vote. She had 2 million more votes than Trump, but she lost because वो states का उनका चक्कर होता है, राज्यसभा की तरह electoral college होता है. So she lost despite getting the popular vote. She lost because if you win, say California, you win 80% of the votes, but वो electoral votes तो उतने ही हैं. And other areas में, so he did a better campaign in terms of electoral votes. But Joe Biden has got a lead of 12 to 14%. वो unprecedented lead है. So only if he messes up or if there is a war, it could be questionable. Otherwise, Trump is on his way out. And if you see, Wall Street wrote a very critical editorial yesterday. Fox News has turned critical of Trump. लग रहा है कि all the conservatives are already jettisoning him and now they are focusing on 2024. वो तब देखेंगे, अभी 2020 तो गया. So that change will mean more taxes, more of a socialist government, more regulations, more conciliatory view towards global trading partners. Markets might not like it, and markets will discount it. Markets are very forward looking. They might move right now only. So it could happen as soon as August. जब पहले उनके debate शुरू हो जाएंगे, you could see the market starting to fall. So all I would say, caution hai. I am expecting one more correction and time to be cautious. Keep as much cash as you can and liquidity. What sectors we are seeing doing well? Pharma is a big beneficiary of all this, and it will keep going up. And pharma may you have to add chemicals also, because China today controls 37% of the world's chemical business. We have only a 3% share. Developed markets don't want to do chemicals in their countries because of the pollution and other reasons. A lot will come to India. India has the expertise, we don't have the capital. Our companies are subscale. Government is bringing a subsidy and a regime to help our companies scale up. Expertise hai hamare paas. Pharma mein we are the biggest. Outside the US, we are the biggest exporters into the US. So we have done very well in IT. Information technology will continue to do well. And that's a mega trend. Cloud aayega, digitization aayega, what we call ABCD. So automation, blockchain, digitization and cloud. The entire ABCD will benefit our IT companies. Pharma, chemicals I have mentioned. FMCG. FMCG will continue to do well. So consumption India mein rahega. And abhi bhi we are very small. You know, our listed companies are contributing hardly 2% of India's GDP is the profit of the Indian listed companies. So these companies are India mein which make $1 billion profit. Amazon is bigger than entire Indian market. Apple is bigger than entire Indian market. Google is bigger than entire Indian market. तो हमें लिस्ट करना है, LIC को लिस्ट करना है, इंडियन रेलवेज को लिस्ट करना है, इंडियन पोस्ट को लिस्ट करना है. And we have to have big companies like Reliance. We need 30-40 Reliances to be there in this country, and Reliance to grow 8-10 times. That is the scale that India should have. It will happen in the next 10 to 15 years. That's what is our projection. That you will see scale coming into India. Right now, we are very small. And so the growth also can be sharp. Recoveries. So these are the good sectors: pharma, chemicals, IT, MNC, FMCG, and what are the recovery sectors? Auto will recover. Auto mein two-wheelers will recover the fastest because they are rural linked. 70% of two-wheelers are sold in the rural economy. Rural economy is doing well. Monsoon has been fantastic again. Just today, agriculture data has come out. With respect to last year's sowing, Kharif sowing is double of last year. So 170 की जगह 340 million hectares में sowing हो गया है because monsoon जल्दी आया इस बारी and it has spread over all of India. So rural will continue to do well, and the government is pumping a lot of money in rural economy. So anything to do with rural consumption, durables, two-wheelers, these will all do well. Tractors already doing well. You have seen Escorts and Mahindras getting benefit of that. Even Eicher's tractor division is doing well. Durables will do well. Telecom turnaround story hai. After 12 years of underperformance, last year telecom started performing. It will continue to perform. And the kind of sheer scale that our telecom companies have, Just a little bit, 10 rupees, 20 rupees per month change makes it a very different ball game. And we are expecting a 100 rupee change in the next 2 years on their ARPUs, so on their monthly billings. PSU disinvestment will be a big theme because government is not having money. You will look at selling off PSUs. So PSU companies and a lot of good companies are there with very high dividend yields. So you are safe anyways. You make 5, 6, 7% in dividend itself, much better than your bank deposit, and the valuations are low, so they should do well. Cement, paints, household house suppliers, all these will do well. I'm not saying real estate directly because उसमें liquidity issue है, उसमें debt का issue है. So real estate, few companies which are cash rich will do well, but not as a sector. But cement as a supplier, paints as a supplier, cable makers, these will do well. And in सबके ऊपर 33% of our market is financials. They are the suppliers of the liquidity into the market. They will do well. And the big guys will grab market share. So the top 5 NBFCs, top 5 private sector banks, top 3, 4 public sector banks, all these can be looked at. They will do very well. What is avoidable? I would say leveraged companies. So any company, what we call zombie companies, where the interest coverage ratio is not adequate, revenues are not covering the interest, EBITDA is negative. Lot of companies like that avoid. Shady managements, we have to be very careful. As CAs, we understand that very well. Small and mid caps, I am still not convinced because this is not the part of the market cycle when small and mid caps do well. They have done very well, say, for the last 3-4 months. एक तो उसमें ऑपरेटर बहुत है, सो कंपनियां खुद चलवा रही हैं शेयर. दूसरा है कि इफ यू सी फ्रॉम 2018 स्मॉल कैप इंडेक्स इज स्टिल 30-40% डाउन फ्रॉम इट्स टॉप. तो वो कैचअप भी है. स्मॉल कैप मिड कैप की जगह अभी क्वालिटी ओन करना है नेक्स्ट 1 ईयर के लिए. नेक्स्ट ईयर से मिडल ऑफ नेक्स्ट ईयर व्हेन द इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी गेट्स मेन स्ट्रीम, देन स्मॉल कैप मिड कैप्स विल टेक ऑफ. सो या तो ऐसा पैसा आप रखिए जो 5 साल यू आर रेडी नॉट टू टच, then you can buy quality small or mid cap. Otherwise, next year we'll get a chance. It's my personal thinking. Finally, I would also like to bring one thing to your attention, which we should keep in mind. We have now crossed $500 billion of for FX reserves. We used to keep reserves because 1991 May we had to send our gold to Bank of England, and all the foreign banks had withdrawn the FX lines. So country had hardly 2 weeks of imports money with us. Since we import about $120 billion of oil every year, and our total imports used to be 500 billion, they have fallen now to about 400 billion a year. We were happy in keeping these things. But now just imagine 100,000 crores Reliance will bring in, which is FDI, all the investments in Geo. Similarly, there will be so many deals happening. LIC IPO will come, other disinvestments. Dollar will keep coming. We are afraid that if we let rupee appreciate, our exports will go down. But think of the 80-85% Indians like you and me who earn in rupees, who spend in rupees. When we go out, we spend in rupees. When I started working in the late 80s, rupee was at about 25 rupees to the dollar. As a child, I have seen 8 rupees to the dollar. I've seen my father taking foreign exchange. We had to go to RBI at that time whenever you traveled abroad. And I've seen 8 rupees to the dollar also. But professional life, I've seen 25, 30 rupees to the dollar. And all of us, if our our GDP was marked to that dollar, We are third already. We are ahead of Japan and Germany. And if that rupee weakens lost out, in terms of the huge depreciation of the rupee. Imagine where we could have been. So this FX reserves, if this is utilized better. I used to work for the Singapore Sovereign Fund, Temasek. And in 1965, when they separated from Malaysia, they were a very developing country, not a very advanced country.
शायद अमरनाथ जी वॉइस नहीं आ रही ना?
वॉइस ब्रेक, आई थिंक सिग्नल भी ब्रेक हो गया उनका.
Just wait for 1 minute, otherwise we will start next. Okay.
ट्राई करो.
सर अभी 1 मिनट के अंदर लॉगिन हो रहे हैं.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, sorry, sir.
No, I was talking nicely only about telecom. पहले टेलीकॉम को हम गाली देते थे तो कट डाउन हो जाते थे. आज तो टेलीकॉम की बढ़ाई कर रहे थे. Still got cut off. Sorry, apologies for that. So, crystal ball gazing in the end. Economy will have bottomed. April, May में economy का bottom हो गया. Global will be more important. So pharma, IT, all the exporters will do well. Third, rural will be faster recovery than urban. तो rural के जो themes हैं वो देखने हैं. Fourth, जो हमें issue आएगा, as tax advisors, as cost advisors, as compliance advisors, we are going to get a lot of issues, is the petty officialdom which will come back. License permit quota फिर लौट के आ गया क्योंकि फैक्ट्री खुली रखनी है तो हर आदमी आके अब पैसा मांग रहा है. सो दैट पेटी करप्शन जो हमने छोड़ी थी वो वापस आ गई है वायरस के कारण बिकॉज ऑफ ऑल द परमिशंस. सो दैट वी विल फेस. अब जीएसटी में इतने इश्यूज हैं कि इन्वेंट्री अगर राइट ऑफ करना है क्या करेंगे. एंड स्टिल यू आर डीलिंग विद रिलेटिवली बिगर कंपनीज. जो एमएसएमई है, स्मॉल टाइम रिटेलर है, स्मॉल टाइम होटल गाय है, सिनेमा हॉल ओनर्स हैं, उन सब का आप सोचिए क्या हाल होने वाला है. सो rather I would say if the government comes out with a one-time amnesty and gives some more time to people to recover, that will be good. But our complexity is going to grow up a lot more. We need to have the basic understanding of this pandemic. ऐसा नहीं है कि दुनिया खत्म हो जाएगी. I think 3/4 हम पहुंच गए हैं. 75% of the pain is gone. The last fourth रह गया है. And that will also go in the next couple of months, I'm expecting. And then it will be a changed world. Cinema halls France ने खोले हैं, schools खोले हैं. I don't know how in India with our populations, how we will do that. Hopefully कुछ निकलेगा. Hotels, if they have to work at 30% or 50% capacity, they are bankrupt. Hotel का ordinary margin is about 8 to 10%. उसका जो margin है. So they will not be able to afford the rentals even if we say कि आप 50% capacity पे चलाइए. वैसे ही schools, colleges, they are in a bind. How do they get in children? And if they have to do online, parents are not willing to pay the fees, but you have to pay the teachers and you have sunk money in the buildings. So, how do you do the cost rationalization there? So the big theme is economy will mend. Bad news will come in July. Be prepared for that as the earnings come in. Earnings are going to degrow 30 to 50% year on year. But ज़्यादातर it has got digested in the markets. One more wave will come in the markets, maybe around the US elections or maybe around September when it becomes clear that Trump is losing. Geopolitical risk बहुत बड़ा है, especially India के लिए, with China also wants to distract its population. So they want to open a front with Taiwan, they want to open a front with Vietnam, with India. तो ये geopolitical कुछ भी हो सकता है कभी भी. So as investors, we have to be careful of that also. And finally, as advisors, we must make sure that all customers have a will, have a file, family must know, a copy of the file must be with you. I have seen very close friends, relatives pass away. This is not a disease which is only, say, for the weaker sections or the lower sections. It is across that people are getting impacted. And having proper paperwork is very critical. Continuity plans for businesses and for our individual clients. Family must know kind of files a will which is clear and which is in your possession. So you can act on behalf of the client if there is any unforeseen circumstance. Overall, I'm still very positive. We have seen the worst behind us. And with the kind of stimulus that has got put in, We'll get through it. 70 people, 70 initiatives are on for the vaccine. Something will come which will cover 50-60%, then it will get to 80%. Something will come by January, February. And cures to hai. And India, hopefully with the amount of turmeric we are having, ginger, garlic, all that we have, our basic lifestyle, I'm hoping that India will recover very fast. If we could control it in Dharavi, where, in 8 square kilometers, 10 lakh people were staying, and, thousands were using one toilet. Still, the government has done a fantastic job of controlling it there. I'm sure rest of India will also follow. Thank you very much for all your patience. My apologies for getting knocked out twice. And Dharamji, thank you again. Thank you to the entire CA Aura family for inviting me today.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू सर. सर मार्केट ओवरव्यू जो कह सकते हो चैनल पे हम इतना नहीं सीख पाए जितना आज देख पाए. और कोविड को लेके क्या, क्योंकि हम ऑल आर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट कुछ ना कुछ इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, कहीं ना कहीं कुछ लगाना चाहते हैं. तो सर आपने जो हमें जो आगे का फ्यूचर दिखाया है, तो आई थिंक केयरफुली चलेंगे अभी सब लोग. और मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि ये आपका इतना वीडियो मैं सब लोगों में शेयर करूं कि बहुत अच्छे पॉइंट्स निकल के आए हैं, तो मैक्सिमम लोगों तक रीच करवाऊंगा इसका मैं सर.
थैंक यू सर.
हाँ सर बहुत अच्छा फीडबैक है मार्केट के लिए सर.
हाँ, एक चीज और कहूंगा कि गोल्ड देख सकते हैं, गोल्ड बढ़ेगा. ये मैं 2 साल से ही कह रहा हूँ गोल्ड का, क्योंकि चाइना और रशिया डॉलर खरीदना बंद कर दिए हैं. वो 300 टन चाइना और रशिया का सेंट्रल बैंक 300 टन खरीद रहा है हर साल. सो गोल्ड का सप्लाई कम है, डिमांड ज्यादा है. एंड अगर आप पूरा गोल्ड देखें दुनिया में, ऑल पुट टुगेदर इज अबाउट $11 ट्रिलियन. इंडियंस के पास 1.5 ट्रिलियन है, क्योंकि हमारी दादी नानियां हर महीने 1-1 तोला खरीदते रहते थे. हमारे हर एक आदमी के घर में बहुत सोना है. बट गोल्ड कैन बी 5 to 10% ऑफ पोर्टफोलियो आप गोल्ड में रख सकते हैं. वो मल्टीपल ईयर ब्रेकआउट है गोल्ड का. सिल्वर भी करेगा, बट सिल्वर इंडस्ट्रियल रहता है. गोल्ड का ज्यादा एज अ स्टोर ऑफ वैल्यू रहता है. सिल्वर क्या, इंडस्ट्रियल अगर कम हुआ तो सिल्वर का वैल्यू गिर जाता है. गोल्ड everyone can look at. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you sir. Now I request to CA अंकित सुमानी जी, सर फॉर्मल वोट ऑफ थैंक्स से सर का धन्यवाद करें सर. प्लीज सर अंकित सुमानी जी प्लीज.
जी सर. Bagga sir, it was great to really listen to you, and you have really given us so many insights on where to invest, how to deal with it, कहाँ पर हम कब थोड़ा सा इन्वेस्ट करने की सोच सकते हैं, शॉर्ट टर्म गोल्स, लॉन्ग टर्म गोल्स, कई सारे. और आपका मैंने पहले भी कई बार सुना है, लेकिन इस बार जो मैंने अभी आपको सुना वो UV&W अप्रोच, दैट वाज रियली कमांडेबल. और भी कई सारी बातें जो मैं थोड़ी बहुत समझ पाया सर, कि अप्रैल टू जून क्वार्टर जो नेक्स्ट ईयर रहेगा, दैट विल प्रोबेबली बी द शूटिंग अप पीरियड. और अभी इस बार वाला जो क्वार्टर आएगा, दैट विल बी probably the right time for long term investments. ऐसा भी कुछ I could gather. Data is the new oil. That is a real new oil. Really, वो तो हम सभी लोग समझ रहे हैं. Pharma companies, chemical industries, IT sector is definitely going to boom up. Really, sir, your session was remarkably very well. We would love to hear you back.
Thank you. My pleasure.
है ना सर. Please find time again.
नहीं, बिल्कुल आई एम देयर. धर्म जी तो बात करते रहते हैं. आई विल कम बैक अगेन, जैसे आप बोलेंगे. विल डू. अभी वायर कार्ड का फ्रॉड हुआ है. वी शुड गेट सम एक्सपर्ट्स एंड अंडरस्टैंड दैट. फॉरेंसिक अकाउंटिंग भी, कि बिकॉज इंडिया में भी दे हैड बॉट अ कंपनी यहाँ पे मद्रास में, एंड विद पॉलिटिकल कनेक्शन. सो वो भी वायर कार्ड का भी समझना चाहिए कि कैसे एंटायर इकोसिस्टम फेल्ड. एंड उसमें एक ही एनालिस्ट था जो कह रहा था ये जीरो में जाएगी कंपनी. तो ये जब बेयर मार्केट आते हैं ना, इस टाइम पे अंकित जी, बेयर मार्केट में फ्रॉड निकलने शुरू हो जाते हैं. जब तेजी होती है तो इट गेट्स कवर्ड एंड पीपल आर टेकिंग मनी आउट. तो अभी हमारा काम बढ़ने वाला है. आवर फॉरेंसिक अकाउंटिंग वर्क इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज ओवर द नेक्स्ट 1 year, बिकॉज ये मंदी में lot of skeletons will come out of the cupboards.
And definitely, sir, with the advent of new technology, and rather the people are also using new technologies now. So there will be more online frauds.
Yes, absolutely.
Really, sir, your session was really very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Raman?
Yeah, thank
sir.
you. Thank you, Ajay, for your wonderful session on a capital markets.
Thank you for all the arrangements. Very grateful to you. I'll be back again. Thank you.
Our pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So to move this session forward, so I would request C.